Good evening, friends, fiends, and night owl supremes. Welcome to A Bit Late. I hope the evening is finding you well and in good spirits, and in the mood for a weird fairy tale. Kind of picked this one because it had a very interesting title. The 3 Heads of the Well, so I'm wondering if that's 3 different spring sources or 3 heads. In any case, we're going to find out together tonight. Do get comfy and cozy, gather around you blankets and pillows, summon your animal familiars, brew some tea or coffee. I don't know if you're doing decaf or regular, but whichever one you are, go get it now. It's going to be a great story. Light your candles and turn on your fairy lights. All right, without further ado, let's just find out what this story's about. The 3 Heads of the Well. Once upon a time, there reigned a king, valiant, strong, wise, famous as a good ruler. But in the midst of his glory, his dear queen died. Oh God. Leaving him with a daughter just touching women's estate. Just touching women's estate. Oh, interesting way of phrasing that. And this maiden was renowned far and wide for beauty, kindness, and grace. Now strange things happened, and this king, hearing of a lady who had immense riches, had a mind to marry her, well, of course. Though she was old, ugly, and ill-tempered. But she's got money, so king's like, we need money. And though she was, furthermore, possessed of a daughter as ugly as herself. None could give the reason why, but only a few weeks after the death of his dear queen, the king brought this loathly bride to court and married her with great pomp and festivities. Probably because he had money to afford the pomp and festivities now. We don't know the state of the kingdom, but he was valiant, strong, and wise, and famous as a good ruler. It says nothing about the financial part of the kingdom. We need to know this every time we read a fairy tale, right? What are their finances? That's not true. It doesn't make a story. But in this case, I think it does. Now, when the young princess found that even her father had turned against her, she grew weary of the court life. I would imagine so, but how did he turn against her? He just married someone else, maybe because he needed to, or maybe he was lonely. It has nothing to do with the daughter. Sheesh. No, we're not even gonna go there. Anyway, she's so tired of the court life and longed to get away from it. So, one day, happening to meet the king alone in the garden, she went down on her knees and begged and prayed him to give her some help and let her go out into the world to seek her fortune. Oh, Dad, I want to leave. Let me seek my fortune. I love when fairy tales do that. To this, the king agreed. What? She's your daughter. As a king, I'm happy that he's letting her go. Don't get me wrong. But usually they're like, no, I need you to marry so-and-so so we can reunite our kingdoms. But good on him. I guess he is wise. Anyway, to this the king agreed and told his consort to fit the girl out for her enterprise in proper fashion. But the jealous woman only gave her a canvas bag of brown bread and hard cheese with a small bottle of beer. That is not gonna last very long. Though this was but a pitiful dowry for a king's daughter, the princess was too proud to complain. So she took it, returned her thanks, and set off on her journey through the woods and forest, by rivers and lakes, over mountain and valley, on 1 loaf of bread and cheese. What a hero. At last she came to a cave at the mouth of which, on a stone, sat an old, old man with a white beard. "Good morrow, fair damsel," said he. "Whither away so fast?" "Reverend father," replies she, "I go to seek my fortune." "And what hast thou for dowry, fair damsel?" said he, "in thy bag and bottle?" "Bread and cheese and small beer, father," says she, smiling. "Will it please you to partake of either?" Does she have to marry him if that's her dowry? "What?" "With all my heart," says he, and when she pulled out her provisions, he ate nearly all of them. "What? That's rude, old man, you jerk." But once again she made no complaint. Oh, come on. But bade him eat what he needed and welcome. It's interesting what fairy tales do try to teach back in the day. Oh, just be compliant and give all you have. It'll be cool. Anyway. Now, when he had finished, he gave her many thanks and said, "For your beauty and your kindness and your grace, take this wand. There's a thick thorny hedge before you which seems impassable, but strike it thrice with this wand, saying each time, 'Please, hedge, let me through,' and it will open a pathway for you. Then when you come to a well, sit on the brink of it. Do not be surprised at anything you may see, but whatever you are asked to do, do that." So saying, the old man went into the cave, and she went on her way. After a while she came to a high, thick, thorny hedge, but when she struck it 3 times with the wand, saying, "Please, hedge, let me through," it opened a wide pathway for her. So she came to the well, on the brink of which she sat down, and no sooner had she done so than a golden head without any body came up through the water. "Well, it is a head, a disembodied head. Sweet, question answered," singing as it came. "Wash me and comb me, lay me on a bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." "Certainly," she said, pulling out her silver comb. When did she get a silver comb? I thought she just had bread and cheese and beer. What? Didn't tell us that she brought her riches with her. Here I was, thinking she was just living on the land. No, she's got a silver comb. Cool. Then, placing the head on her lap, she began to comb the golden hair. When she had combed it, she lifted the golden head softly and laid it on a primrose bank to dry. No sooner had she done this than another golden head appeared, singing as it came. "Wash me and comb me, lay me on a bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." "Certainly," says she. After combing the golden hair, placed the golden head softly on the primrose bank beside the first one. Then, surprise, surprise, came a third head out of the well, and it said the same thing. "Wash me and comb me, lay me on a bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." "With all my heart," she says graciously, and after taking the head on her lap and combing its golden hair with her silver comb, there were the 3 golden heads in a row on the primrose bank. 'Cause that's not creepy. It totally is creepy. And she sat down to rest herself and looked at them. They were so quaint and pretty, and as she rested she cheerfully ate and drank the meager portion of the brown bread, hard cheese, and the small beer which the old man had left to her. Greedy old man. For, though she was a king's daughter, she was too proud to complain. Now, too proud or too humble? I'm wondering, same thing with those? Then the first head spoke. "Brothers, what shall we weird for this damsel who has been so gracious unto us? I weird her to be so beautiful that she shall charm everyone she meets." "And I," said the second head, "weird her a voice that shall exceed the nightingales in sweetness." "And I," said the third head, "weird her to be so fortunate that she shall marry the greatest king that reigns." Wow, it's pretty nice of them. "Thank you with all my heart," says she, "but don't you think I had better put you back in the well before I go on? Remember, you are golden, and the passers-by might steal you." Okay. To this they agreed, so she put them back. And when they had thanked her for her kind thought and said goodbye, she went on her journey. Now she had not traveled far before she came to a forest where the king of the country was hunting with his nobles. And as the happy cavalcade passed down the glade, she stood back to avoid them. But the king caught sight of her and drew up his horse, fairly amazed at her beauty. "Fair maid," said he, "who art thou, and whither goest thou through the forest thus alone?" "I am the king of Colchester's daughter, and I go to seek my fortune," says she, and her voice was sweeter than the nightingale's. So they changed how she looks and sounds? That's wild. That's weird. Then the king jumped from his horse, being so struck by her that he felt it would be impossible to live without her, and falling on his knee, begged and prayed her to marry him without delay. Maybe that's, just like the father married the other woman, without delay. We gotta do it. And so he begged and prayed so well that at last she consented. So she didn't even seek her fortune for like a day, and here she is with a big fortune. Sophie from House Moving Castle would probably grumble at that. So with all courtesy, he mounted her on his horse behind him, and commanding the hunt to follow, he returned to his palace where the wedding festivities took place with all possible pomp and merriment. Did she get to invite her dad? I don't know. Then, ordering out the royal chariot, the happy pair started to pay the King of Colchester a bridal visit. And you may imagine the surprise and delight with which, after so short an absence, yeah, right? The people of the kingdom saw their beloved, beautiful, kind, and gracious princess return in a chariot, all gemmed with gold, as the bride of the most powerful king in the world. Wow! The bells rang out, flags flew, drums beat, and people huzzaed, and all was gladness, save for the ugly queen and her ugly daughter, who were ready to burst with envy and malice. For you see, the despised maiden was now above them both. I mean, whatever. Anyway, I thought she always was equal at least. Now, they try to get rid of her with just a little bit of food, but nope. Anyway, she's above them both and went before them at every court ceremonial. But how often is that going to be? She lives somewhere else. Like, she's not hanging around at that court. Does it even matter? No. So, after the visit was ended and the young king and his bride had gone back to their own country, see, they're going back, they're not even hanging out, there to live happily ever after, the ugly, ill-natured princess said to her mother, the ugly queen. I like how the story lets us know that every time it mentions them, just so we're not confused. I will also go in the world to seek my fortune. If that drab of a girl with her mincing ways got so much, what may I not get? So her mother agreed and furnished her forth with a silken dress and furs, and gave her as provisions sugar, almonds, sweetmeats of every variety, besides a large flagon of Magala sack, altogether a right royal dowry. I can't help but think of the story of Mother Hulda and, the fairies, where the first daughter gets all these riches, so then the second daughter goes, but she's terribly mean and just ends up spitting out frogs and toads, or just getting tar on her permanently. Common theme in fairy tales? Probably. I'm gonna stop predicting the future, though. All right, let's see how this second daughter fares in the wide world seeking her fortune. Armed with these, she set forth, following the same road as her stepsister. Thus she soon came upon the old man with the white beard, who was seated on a stone by the mouth of a cave. "Good morrow," says he. "Whither away so fast?" "What's that to you, old man?" she replied rudely. But I have to agree with her. What's none of your business, man? You don't have to stop and chat with everybody. "And what hast thou for dowry in bag and bottle?" he asked quietly. "Good things with which you shall not be troubled," she answered pertly. Ooh, she's rude and pert. "Will thou not spare an old man something?" he said. And by something he means everything, but whatever, go on. Then she laughed. "Not a bite, not a sup, lest they should choke you. Though that would be a small matter to me," she replied with a toss of her head. "Then ill luck will go with thee," remarked the old man as he rose and went into the cave. So she went on her way, and after a time came to the thick thorny hedge, and seeing what she thought was a gap in it, she tried to press through. But no sooner had she got well into the middle of the hedge than the thorns closed in around her, so that she was all scratched and torn before she won her way. And her beautiful dress was all torn to pieces too, I'm sure. Darn it. Thus, streaming with blood, she went on to the well, and seeing the water, sat on the brink, intending to cleanse herself. But just as she dipped her hands, up came a golden head, singing as it came, "Wash me and comb me, lay me on the bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." "Likely story," says she. "I'm going to wash myself." And with that, she gave the head such a bang with her bottle that it bobbed below the water. She killed it. But it came up again, and so did a second head, singing as it came, "Wash me and comb me, lay me on the bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." "Not I," scoffs she. "I'm going to wash my hands and face and have my dinner." So she fetches the second head a cruel bang with the bottle, and both heads ducked down in the water. But when they came up again, all draggled and dripping, the third head also came, singing as it came, "Wash me and comb me, lay me on the bank to dry, softly and prettily to watch the passers-by." By this time, the ugly princess had cleansed herself and, seated on the primrose bank, her mouth full of sugar and almonds. "Not I," she says as well as she could. "I am not a washerwoman nor a barber, so take that for your washing and combing." I mean, she does know her boundaries, though, I will give her that. And with that, having finished the magala sack, she flung the empty bottle at the three heads. So she's littering, okay, that's the line. But this time they didn't duck. They looked at each other and said, "How shall we weird this rude girl for her bad manners?" Ooh. Then the first head said, "I weird that to her ugliness shall be added blotches on her face." And the second head said, "I weird that she shall ever be hoarse as a crow and speak as if she had her mouth full." And the third head said, "And I weird that she shall be glad to marry a cobbler." Okay. Then the three heads sank into the well and were no more seen. And the ugly princess went on her way. But lo and behold, when she came to a town, the children ran from her ugly blotched face, screaming with fright. And when she tried to tell them she was the King of Colchester's daughter, her voice squeaked like a corncrake's, was hoarse as a crow's, and folk could not understand a word she said because she spoke as if her mouth was full. That is a terrible curse. Now in the town there happened to be a cobbler who not long before had mended the shoes of a poor old hermit, and the latter, having no money, had paid for the job by the gift of a wonderful ointment which would cure blotches on the face. Oh, this is a little convenient. And a bottle of medicine that would banish any hoarseness. So seeing the miserable, ugly princess in great distress, he went up to her and gave her a few drops of his bottle. And then, understanding from her rich attire and clearer speech that she was indeed a king's daughter, he craftily said that if she would take him for a husband, he would undertake to cure her. Well, that's opportunistic, but it was also foretold. Anything, sobbed the miserable princess. So they were married, and the cobbler straightway set off with his bride to visit the King of Colchester. But the bells did not ring, the drums did not beat, and the people, instead of huzzahing, burst into loud guffaws at the cobbler in leather and his wife in silks and satins. As for the ugly queen, she was so enraged and disappointed that she went mad and hanged herself in wrath. Why? Come on. Whereupon the king, really pleased at getting rid of her so soon, "What? You just married her," gave the cobbler £100 and bade him go about his business with his ugly bride. Jeez Louise. Which he did quite contentedly, for £100 means much to a cobbler. So they went to a remote part of the kingdom and lived unhappily for many years. He cobbling shoes and she spinning the thread for him. So, before I say the end, we already had a happily ever after ending, and now this is an unhappily ever after ending. I don't know, they seem like they have a system going, they're working in tandem, in harmony. Sounds kind of nice, no responsibilities of ruling a whole kingdom, just saying. Anyway, the end. Dear friends and fiends, I hope you enjoyed this weird fairy tale with a lot of weirding in it. I really enjoyed it. I love the heads popping out of the well. Pretty cool, pretty creepy. Might have to look into that some more. But let me know what you think of the story in the comments below, and do stay tuned for more spooky and magical things here on the channel. But now, off to sleep and dream what you will, or stay a while and enjoy another tale. Whichever you choose, I'll speak to you again. And until then, stay spooky, my friends, and weird. Good night.